Wazazi wamejikanare, eti penzi letu tuisare, lakini baby usijali, kesi tutajibu baadaye. You see, I love you so perfect, I can't deny it. But your father wants me in a casket. I think he's not playing. As he look the way we sneak at night when he goes to sleep. Drink and drive while we take the risk. Got to all go at my police. Hey, but I would never leave you alone. Hey, best believe my babe. Siwezi kukuacha peke yako. Wazazi wameshikanare, eti penzi letu tuisare, lakini baby usijali, kesi tutajibu baadaye. Wazazi wameshikanare, eti penzi letu tuisare, lakini baby usijali, kesi tutajibu baadaye. 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 Check it away to I'm a blackie. Hatuwezi enda home, tusisi wote tumeishiwa na safety. And your friends that are gone, just let them be. We'll stare at the stars and let them reach. Prove to the world we're meant to be. Yeah. We should be letting home, baby, together. That is our song, take together. Jump on the fence and come away. Wazazi wameshikanare, eti penzi letu tuisare, lakini baby usijali, kesi tutajibu baadaye. Wazazi wameshikanare, eti penzi letu tuisare, lakini baby usijali, kesi tutajibu baadaye. Kesi tutajibu baadaye. Kesi tutajibu baadaye. Kesi tutajibu baadaye. Kesi tutajibu baadaye.
Hamzambo familia, welcome to the Black Fire Network 54 correspondence show. Show we get to traverse across the African continent and discuss different issues happening on the motherland right here on the Black Fire Network. My name is Spikes, and I trust that you are doing well. And of course, today is the 8th of September, the year 2020. And today we shall be focusing on the Horn of Africa. And of course, the Horn of Africa constitutes countries such as Somalia, Ethiopia, and of course, other different nations right here. And of course, I like to call it the Horn of Africa because of that particular shape in that particular region, which actually looks a little bit like a horn. Nonetheless, there are different nations right there. Some of them which used to be part of Ethiopia. Right now, these are independent countries. I'm talking about Djibouti. I'm also talking about Eritrea, that were once part and parcel of what we do call Ethiopia. And of course, even Ethiopia itself, it was originally known as Abyssinia. And therefore, there are a lot of things that have actually changed. Therefore, we shall be addressing these particular matters as they are. And of course, before we get into that, I just want to take us all the way to West Africa. I do have something interesting all the way from West Africa. I shall be talking about the nation of Cameroon. And yes, Cameroon is a West African nation that has had the same president for over 30 years. The name of the president is Paul Biya, and of course, any voice of dissent has actually been, has actually been met with brutal force, and therefore that is how the president of Cameroon has kept his power for a very, very long time. I believe in his head, it gets to a point where power gets to your head and you start to believe that you are the one chosen. You are a chosen leader. You are a benevolent leader, chosen by God to run the country for so many years. And therefore, I believe at some point, this is what maybe some of these African leaders get to their head. And therefore, they want to run these particular countries for centuries. Even if they were able to do so, they would love to run these particular countries for centuries. But nonetheless, that has been over 3 decades of the same leader in Cameroon. And what I want to talk about Cameroon is the diversity, the lingual diversity. And of course, what you get to realize is that Cameroon itself has over 250 languages. There's about 250 languages. Pardon the noise from the outside. We, of course, apologize for the hits. Sorry for the interruption from the outside. I know that the kids are actually, still at home. There isn't any schooling happening right now. But nonetheless, I was talking about the lingual diversity of this particular nation of Cameroon. And of course, Cameroon is home to at least 250 languages, which include 55 Afro-Asiatic languages and 2 Nilo-Saharan languages, 4 Ubangian languages, and 169 Niger-Congo languages. And of course, the 169 Niger-Congo languages comprise the Senegambian language, the Adamawa language, and of course 142 Benue Congo languages, 130 of which are actually Bantu languages. And then you also do have French and English, which of course are the languages used by the people of Cameroon. And of course, Cameroon was a former colony of both the French and the UK, and therefore that is why we do have people speaking in both English and French. But you all do understand about the fighting that has been in that particular country, because some people want to be English speaking, others want to be French speaking, and therefore there has been a big kind of a fight between the Anglophones and the Saxophones. That is what happens in that particular country of Cameroon. Mr. Pirate Brain, thank you so much. I trust that you all doing. I trust that you're still packing your bag, getting ready to get to Gambia. I trust that you're still packing your bag, trying to get on a plane to the Gambia, and of course, I see what's good in the Gambia. Nonetheless, I was talking about Cameroon, and now what you get to realize is that one particular country of Cameroon has over 250 languages, And of course, this is not unique, because even the neighboring country, which is Nigeria also has about 200 languages. And so you think between two countries, you might combine two countries, Nigeria and Cameroon, and you will find about 450 languages spoken in two countries, which is actually crazy if you ask me. But what you get to realize is that there is also the Bantu languages. Some of the languages are Bantu languages, and some of them are Nilotic languages in this particular country. And this gets me thinking, there might be a very, very big divide. When you do not have one common language, you have about 250 languages. I think this can bring a very, very big divide, because I believe a language is a thing that unifies people. And if people have, all these languages, I don't have a problem with cultural diversity. That is one thing I need to put across. I have no problem with cultural diversity when it comes to, the people of Cameroon and wanting to celebrate their own cultures, their own unique ways of living. But nonetheless, 250 languages is quite too much. If you ask me, I think it's crazy. For me, when you talk about our own country, which is Kenya, right here in Nairobi, sometimes I come across people speaking different languages from their mother tongue, and I cannot really make out what they're trying to say. Some of the languages are really, really unique, and therefore someone might even be, that might actually be umamongering you. Someone might actually be just talking about you while you're still there, and you'll not even realize that perhaps they were talking about you. Maybe they are looking the other way, or they are looking the other direction. And even I believe when some people move from the city, perhaps when you move from the city like Nairobi and try to go to a place maybe such as the western region of Kenya, we do have a couple of languages. We do have the Baluya language, we do have the Luo language, we do have a couple of other different languages in that particular place, and therefore it might be difficult. You get that particular culture shock, because you cannot really make out what these people are saying, especially in the rural areas, where Swahili is not spoken by by a big number of people. But nonetheless, what we do have is that in every country we do have the official languages. For example, in Kenya we do have Swahili and English. Kiswahili and English being the national and the official languages right here, and therefore you might not go to an office and start talking in the Luo language, or you might not go into an office and start talking in the Kikuyu language, or in the Baluya language, or in any other of these sub languages. What is expected of you is really to communicate in Swahili, or if not, you should also communicate in English. But nonetheless, on the Black Watch Fire Network, we have been teaching people how to communicate in Swahili. And that has not, at the very, very first time we had the classes, they went very, very well. But over time, I think people have gotten occupied with other different things, or perhaps they might have found it a little bit difficult. That is why some of the students in our Swahili class actually fell out. But nonetheless, we shall be embarking once more in the Swahili classes on the Black Watch Fire Network, and our goal is really to enable people have an appreciation, and not just an appreciation of the language, but also an apprehension, so that you are also able to understand the language of Swahili. I was talking about the languages of West Africa, and I was saying that if you were to tour West Africa, go to the nation of Cameroon, you might have quite a bit of learning to do when it comes to the languages, because I believe every language out of these 250 languages, every language also does have its own greetings, does have its own ways of getting across, for example, showing politeness and being courteous. And therefore, you might come across someone and the person might think, oh, this person really looks like this community, like he is from this community, or like he is from that community. And therefore, they will start a conversation, or they will start to engage you with another language. And you might not even actually understand what they are saying. But nonetheless, it's important to realize that people can be brought together by a language. And of course, we have been saying that Kiswahili would be one such language which would actually enable people come together. And of course, I was saying earlier that, this country of Cameroon, I think, is the most linguistically diverse. If you ask me, I think it's the most linguistically diverse on the African continent. I don't believe there is any other country on the continent that has over 250 languages. I don't believe there is any other country that is on the African continent that has over 250 languages, because the other neighboring one, which has the highest population in Africa, is Nigeria, and Nigeria doesn't have 250. I believe Nigeria has about 200, and therefore, I do believe that that is why we do have all these different languages in this particular country. Cameroon itself, according to the statistics in 2018, Cameroon happened to have about 28 million people. Cameroon happened to have about 28 million people. And if you look at a population of over 28 million people compared to the population of Nigeria, Nigeria has a population of about 200 million people. And is expected by the year 2050, Nigeria perhaps would have a population of about 1 billion people, because there is a very, very, very fast growth rate. And of course, most of the population in Nigeria and Africa at large constitutes of the young people. And of course, I believe that this presents an opportunity and not a challenge. I believe this presents an opportunity because right now we do have the labor force that we might need. We do have the labor force that perhaps you might need to be able to push the growth prospects for our continent forward. But as we have been saying right here on the Black Watch Fire Network, I believe most African readers are not even realizing the benefit or the advantage that we are at right now. What has happened is that most African youth have been disenfranchised. Most of them have been put in situations where there is not even any hope for them because of the unemployment, because of the poverty, and of course, because of the lack of opportunities. Therefore, most African youth, some of the African youth, not most, but really some of the African youth, have decided to really just step out of the continent and go to places like Europe, crossing over through Libya And that is why we do have the immigration crisis on the African continent. But nonetheless, I was talking a little bit about West Africa. And I was sharing with us these two countries, Nigeria and Cameroon. And I was saying that Cameroon has 250 languages, which is crazy. And what we need to do is to be able to bring our people together and not divide the people along even all these, sub languages and languages in West Africa. Nonetheless, I want to keep it to West Africa. I want to share with us the lifestyle and experiences in Senegal. And of course, Senegal is also a West African country we have been talking about right here on the Black Hot Fire Network. I actually told us last week that the R&B singer Akon has actually was actually given the citizenship in Senegal, and he has been making investment in the hospitality industry. And there is what he calls the Akon City in that particular place. We are still looking out to see how that particular project goes. But nonetheless, what I believe is that, there are investment opportunities, not just in Senegal for our people, but I believe continentally. Even when you speak about Ghana, I do believe that there are investment opportunities in Ghana as well. And of course, the thing that we need to do is to be able to find to put the information together. Once we have the information together, then we can be able to make investment choices just like Akon has. And I want to take us all the way to Senegal. And of course, there are interesting things that perhaps you might not have known about Senegal before we get into the issue of Ethiopia. I wanted to just keep it West Africa and just tell us what is happening in Senegal and some of the interesting things. And of course, a few things that you can do in Senegal with the American dollar.
I'm Drew Binsky, and I'm going to show you what $10 can get you in Dakar, Senegal.
Dakar is amazing. The people are very peaceful. It's an amazing and stable country full of beautiful sights, beautiful people and everything.
Dakar is a place I've always wanted to visit because the name just sounded so cool to me, and the fact that every traveler I know tells me it's one of their favorite cities in Africa. The drive up here was stunning from the Gambia because we saw the terrain change drastically from green and humid to desert and dry. Truth be told, it hasn't taken me very long to discover how incredible this city is.
Right now I'm inside the brand new mosque in Dakar, which is the biggest mosque in sub-Saharan Africa. It's just stunning in here.
The beaches are world class and the hospitality is just about as good as it gets. On one hand, the layout of the land, the dusty streets, and the Islamic African culture kind of reminds me of Nouakchott, Mauritania, but on another hand, the society feels very European with the cafes, the tree-lined streets, and the lovely monuments. It's just stunning. You have the freeway here with all the busy cars, and you have the very peaceful beach right down there with below the cliff. Best of all, I'm finding Dakar to be a lot cheaper than I expected. $10 is about 6,000 sefas, so let's get right into it. So we're walking around the market now, trying to find some things to buy. It's very colorful, very lively, just like any other market in the world. Sal, what are we gonna buy?
Clothing. Get you a skull cap.
My Muslim friend Sal thinks I should get a skull cap, better than this green cap. I'm on a mission to try some local street food, so we approached the first vendor we saw. Hi, what is this? I'll get a couple first. Okay, can we get 4 cuts? We think it looks like an empanada. We're not sure exactly what it is because we don't have a local here, but let's try it.
This is mystery food.
Mystery meat.
But when you go to every country, you have to be adventurous.
Same inside, man.
It's noodles.
It's noodles.
Yeah, I don't think you should put noodles inside of
A
bread.
little bit anticlimactic.
No, I'm not.
Senegal is actually a very photo-friendly country so far. We haven't really been yelled at for photos like we have in other countries, so that's positive. And now we're trying to find a skull cap. Every Muslim-majority country has their own style of cap, and it just makes for a great souvenir. I'm looking for like a very local Senegalese cap. What do you got for me?
I think you should get a gold one to be very Abu Dhabi.
But we're not in Abu Dhabi. I like to cater to each local culture. 150.
Yeah.
One. Okay, cool. That's the one. Winner.
Black and gold.
Good?
Yeah, a little bit of cultural appropriation. It's never too bad.
All right, I'm going to wear it for the rest of the day. Thank you. Now we're getting some coconuts here because it's freaking hot outside. Coconuts are like bananas. They taste different in every country that grows them. So I always take the opportunity to try one when I can. Coconuts flying from that side, taxis hitting from this side.
That's a little bit of an insight from Ghana itself. From Senegal itself. I almost got that particular confused. But there are also some other interesting facts about the country, and I want to share with us some of these particular facts about Senegal. I think I've actually seen one of those doors of no return. I think even in other different countries, not just in Senegal, where they used to have people get shipped, or people just put in ships and then taken to different places where then they became slaves. And that was the transatlantic slave trade. And I have seen a couple of doors of no return. I think in a couple of different West African countries where that would be the last place you would actually see on the African continent. That is a little bit of Senegal and Dakar, and of course you can see that particular safari rally. I don't know how many of us are here are actually enthusiasts of safari or watching the rally championships, but Senegal, I think, is one of the places that they did have the Paris to Dakar rally, which actually ended about 2008. Nonetheless, I want to welcome Bombi Damfa. Bombi Damfa, you're saying aspects Wagwan to you too. I trust that you are doing fantastic, Mr. Bombi Damfa, and of course, Mr. Perry Brain. There is also the greetings to you too. And of course, thinking about, Africa. I think I would love to underline right here on the show that I believe Senegal is one of the most stable places that, perhaps one might consider maybe investing in. When you look at the West African countries, most of them, sometimes they have been, in chaos and confusion because of, for example, the military coups. We shall be talking about the military coup that just happened recently in Mali. But in Senegal, we have not had a history of these kinds of coups in Senegal. And therefore, that is why I believe, because of the stability, they have actually had stability. And of course, even when it comes to the insecurity with the Islamic militants, it's not as crazy I'm not saying it's non-existent. I'm saying when you compare to the kind of insecurity in other neighboring countries such as Burkina Faso, such as Cameroon, such as Niger, you find that Senegal is relatively stable in terms of even businesses and the economy. I think Senegal has sort of stood out as a place, maybe if you're considering an investment on the continent, maybe now, of course, you want to invest in West Africa. Perhaps Senegal is one of the destinations that you might perhaps want to consider in terms of places that you would love to invest right here on the African continent. I'm saying so because, like I said, there has been a political stability, and of course, for you to be able to invest in a place, there has to be an assurance that your business will not actually, or your investment will not actually be go down the drain because of the instability or the insecurity in these particular place. But nonetheless, also I do believe South Africa as well as Rwanda. I believe South Africa, Rwanda, Tanzania, and Kenya would also be other places that perhaps someone might actually think about when it comes to investment. When it comes to places not to invest, I'm not saying that these will not change, but I'm saying places like Togo. Sometimes you'll not find a lot of things happening in Togo, as well as you might not also not find a lot of things happening also in places like Mali right now, because they say there has been a military coup, and also places like Somali and Sudan. Those are places that you might not really that might not come top of the list when it comes to investment, because like I said, there are different challenges happening in these particular countries, most of them insecurity, as well as also the political crisis in these particular countries. Therefore, Somalia doesn't even have a stable government. Even in Libya, we do not have a stable government. We do not have a government in Libya. We also do not have the same in some other different places right now. And therefore, I believe even if you are passionate about maybe perhaps touring or perhaps even investing, it's good to just get to highlight some of the places that are really, really not much welcoming, while others that are, excellent. Perhaps Rwanda. We have been to Rwanda with the Blackout Fire Network family last year, and that was a delightful experience. We have also been to Tanzania with the Blackout Fire Network family, and we hope that sometime we shall also be able to tour Zambia and Zimbabwe and be able to see what's good right there and bring you some info, actionable information, because once you do have the information yourself, you can be able to make your own, informed decision. You might not have had the opportunity to travel to Rwanda yourself, but personally, I have. We are also in Kenya, Nairobi, and I can tell you that even though we do have the slowdown of the economy, maybe perhaps when things pick up, it's not a bad idea to set up a few businesses, maybe in Kenya, Rwanda, or Tanzania, among other different places I mentioned earlier that might actually be good. Nonetheless, we are keeping it Blackout Fire Network 54 corresponding show. My name is Pikes, and of course, it's a delight when you get to join me right here on the show as we get to discuss different matters that are taking place on the African continent. And of course, I was saying earlier that we have had a stalemate in Mali. I almost got myself confused. In Mali, simply because there has been a military coup that, of course, was orchestrated on the 18th of August. And what is happening right now is that there has been a plan. There is a plan really trying to enable people have a transitional government, in this particular country. But nonetheless, what we are seeing is that there is still a delay, because even the talks that were supposed to take place did not go as planned, because there was a lot of protests, rowdy protesters in this particular meeting, which took place in Bamako. And of course, I do believe that it's upon that all these groups, they have different groups with different interests in Mali, and we're hoping that they can perhaps come to an agreement. And of course, we do have some updates right now coming from Mali. And of course, they're saying that junta must name a president by September 15th. They're saying that junta must name a president by September 15th. And of course, this is the military junta. This is the military junta. And of course, the military junta that has actually been given, let me not call it an ultimatum, because you cannot really put an ultimatum on matters like this. But what is happening is that there has been a strong call. There is a strong call to see that there is the putting in place of a transition which will enable the country steer back towards towards stability. And of course, the West Africa regional leaders have given the military junta in Mali until September 15th to name a transitional president and a prime minister, according to a statement read on Monday at the end of the summit. And of course, these might not really work out, because right now we are on the 8th of September. But right now, as we speak, I don't see things actually happening that way. Of course, the heads of state of the 15 nation economic community of West African states, which is known as ECOWAS, said the president and the prime minister who will lead the transitional government should be civilians. That is what the ECOWAS was saying. And of course, these are the West African leaders, and these are the heads of states of the 15 nations that are part of the ECOWAS, or the Economic Community of West African States. Now, of course, the bloc is seeking to keep pressure on the junta. And of course, they maintain the sanctions it had placed on Mali, but to welcome steps taken by the junta in the past week to start talks with Mali political parties and civil society groups. And of course, the ECOWAS Union has closed its borders with landlocked Mali and halted financial flows amid its concern of some West African leaders. West African leaders and military coup could undermine their power and democratic gains in the region. That is what is happening. The ECOWAS has actually blocked its borders. These countries have actually blocked the borders with Mali. And what is happening is that Mali is a landlocked country. And therefore, it stands also to lose a lot, because if you have a landlocked country and then the borders are actually shut by the ECOWAS nations, and they have given their demand that by the September the 15th, the military regime actually appoints or names a transitional leader, the president and the prime minister, so that these particular transitional leaders can now pave way for the elections, because the elections, I believe, should be held maybe within 6 months or a year. But of course, like you said, there has been a lot of things that have stalled in this country. And this is a country that is also, if you look at the map of Mali, I think Mali has the most irregular map anywhere. I think I might be mistaken, but if you look at the map of Mali, I think it's just in the middle of, I don't know how they were making the borders, but nonetheless, the map of Mali, if you look at the map of Mali, I think it's one of the most irregular maps that you will find on your map anywhere, any day. But nonetheless, what has been happening is that we are hoping that there will be an agreement that will actually allow the people to have a transitional leadership, and this transitional leadership will also work in regards to giving the civilians the power, or giving back the power to the civilians, and have them running their own nations as they will. And nonetheless, Bombi Damfa, how is it going for you? I don't know if you're still in the Gambia or if you are in Ethiopia. Let us know where you are at currently. I understand that the Ethiopian Airlines are still conducting business. I'm not really sure where you are at right now, but also do let us know. You to inform. Is it the Gambia or is it in Ethiopia? And of course, that is what I would love really to know. Getting back into the issue of Ethiopia, I just want to give some positive updates from Ethiopia before we go into the actual story. And what is happening? Oh, you're still in Addis Ababa. Okay, that's good. There are, of course, some positive news coming from Africa. I do not really want to focus only on the negativity, because sometimes that is a problem. You're trying to give an update on what is happening in Africa, and you might actually sort of start tending towards the negative. Nonetheless, the Ethiopian Airlines has actually unveiled a new terminal at Addis Ababa Bore International Airport, of course, designed, not repurposed, with biosafety and biosecurity in mind. And of course, this is a new terminal. This is a new terminal at Addis Ababa. I believe that from the tweet that you can see here, they actually put it a tweet. An Instagram post saying, "Have a glance at our new spacious passenger terminal, which is designed with emphasis on biosafety measures. Fly Ethiopian, Fly with confidence, the largest gateway to Africa. That is them, of course, marketing themselves as the largest gateway to Africa. This is it. Of course, that's a new passenger terminal in Ethiopia. And I believe that is why I think the Ethiopian Airlines is one of the most preferred on the African continent. I think they are actually they have invested a lot in terms of that particular area. I think they have also been branding themselves as a gateway to Africa. And of course, they have been doing their own. They have had the best, some of the best fleet of airplanes. I believe the Boeing 787. I think one of them had an accident sometimes back, but nonetheless, that has not deterred them from, of course, carrying on with their business as the Ethiopian Airlines. But nonetheless, we shall be focusing on Ethiopia, and you're saying we are about to celebrate the new year 2013, and of course, that's really really interesting because the Ethiopian calendar is different. I think there is that particular difference over 7 years, and there is a festival. There is actually a festival. I'm trying to remember the name of the festival in Ethiopia. Let me try to remember these festival in Ethiopia. And of course, I believe, is it the team? Not the team cards. There is actually a festival I'm trying to remember. Let me see if I find it that we were talking about right here on the show some other time. It's called the Irita. It's called the Irita Festival, which is of course the Thanksgiving holiday of the Oromo people. And I don't know if you have actually partaken or you've actually been involved in any of these festival, Bombi Damfa, or have you had the opportunity to check out some of these festivals that do take place around, I believe, around this particular time of the year? When last year we didn't have the COVID when they were celebrating these festivals. I wonder how they will be addressing the issue of the festivals this year, because right now, as it is, there is a social distancing and everything else like that. But the people of Ethiopia do know how to put.
Some traveled for days through dozens of security checkpoints.
Sorry, that is a different one. What I want to share is this particular one, which is called. Ethiopians have really a lot of our festival. There is a Meskel festival, there is a Timket festival, there is a Rita festival. The one I was actually looking for is a Rita festival. But nonetheless, let me share a little bit about these, and we shall get back into what is happening in Ethiopia political wise.
For this, a festival of Thanksgiving marked by Ethiopia's Oromo community, signaling the end of the rainy season.
I'm coming from Australia, and it is a long journey, 20 hours on the plane. So this is really a very special moment.
But amid the celebrations, there are concerns. Tensions and ethnic rivalries have heightened across the country since Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed came to power in 2018. Some hardliners in the Oromo community believe the region that includes the capital Addis Ababa should fall under their jurisdiction. While allowing the celebration to be held back here in Addis Ababa for the first time in more than a century could be seen as an olive branch from the Ethiopian government, international observers worry that it could serve to incite more nationalist sentiments and further divide Ethiopia. Some regional flags flew high despite calls to avoid politics during the celebrations.
Orisha is about celebrating our country's peace and prosperity. It's not about ethnicity or gender, it's about tolerance.
Recent Orisha celebrations held outside the capital have been marred by protests after a stampede in 2016, where the government says 50 people were killed. But opposition leaders and Human Rights Watch had put that figure in the hundreds. The main part of this year's event, however, ended according to its name, peacefully. It continues into Sunday at a popular lake resort nearby.
And of course, that is one of the festivals, the Orisha festival. I was saying, I think Ethiopia happens to have a lot of festivals. I don't know if many people speak badly about Orisha. They're saying that they allowed them to have it last year for the first time in about 100 years to have it in Addis Ababa. And of course, some people say it's not about tribalism or ethnicity, but I understand that in Ethiopia we do have about 80 ethnic groups in Ethiopia. Some of them that have been marginalized. And what we are talking about today is that in Ethiopia we have had some region, which is the Tigray region, now of course wanting to carry on and continue with elections, the regional elections in this particular place. Now of course there has been the postponement. Ethiopia was expected to go into the polls this year, but because of the COVID-19, there was some elections. There was some legislation. There was some legislation made by the parliament to allow for the postponement of these elections, and therefore there has also been the plans for other regions to carry out the elections, regionally, because we do have the central government in Ethiopia, and you also do have other different regional governments. And what has been happening is that there have been plans by these regional government of Tigray to continue or to hold an election on September for the regional parliament. And of course, there was, the Ethiopians' upper house said that the plans by this region to hold the elections on September 9th is actually unconstitutional. And therefore, as we speak today is the 8th. Today is the 8th of September, and they had planned to continue with some regional elections in their area on the September 9th. And of course, we are seeing that now this brings a very, very big kind of a clash between the central government and the Tigray People Liberation Front. Even as we speak today, I was trying to share with us the map of Ethiopia. If you look at Ethiopia, the neighboring countries, which is Eritrea and Djibouti. Eritrea and Djibouti were also the part of Ethiopia at some point of what you do know as Ethiopia. Let me share with us this particular map. We have seen, like I said earlier, some communities are feeling as if they have been deserted or marginalized. And therefore, that is why you do find a lot of a clash between the central government and some of the regions or some of the areas in this particular country. And I want to share with us this particular image. I think this is the image I want to share with us. From what you can see here, this is the map of Ethiopia. And of course, this is a tiny Djibouti right here. And we also do have Eritrea, which borders Sudan. Of course, Ethiopia also borders Sudan. But of course, these were also areas that were also, part of the big, I believe, part of Ethiopia at some point. But eventually, they wanted to have their own, they wanted to be autonomous, and therefore they did break from Ethiopia. I believe most of them did so because they felt that the regional or the central government, all the leadership of the country, did not represent them well. And we have seen also some other areas, clashes in some other areas, I believe in the north, the eastern region of Ethiopia, where we do have some people getting into fights. because we do have communities that do feel that they are under oppression. And of course, the government has tried to calm some of the fighting in these areas. And of course, different communities such as the Oromo, I believe, have felt that, they are also not represented well. And other different communities, because there's so many. We have the Tigrinya, we have the Oromo, we have so many other different groups. I was talking about them being about 80 of them. And what is happening is that in some areas, they have felt that the risk of the COVID is not really as big. And therefore, because the elections are expected to happen this year, but the national government voted or made some legislation to allow for the elections to be postponed. But the regional leaders did not feel as if this was the right move. And therefore, for example, the Tigray region has felt that they should actually be allowed to continue with the elections in their area, because that was not that is a regional matter. They do not feel that the government has a right to come and of course interfere with the politics of the region, or the small regions right now. Bombi Danfa, I don't know what you feel about this particular issue. You being in Ethiopia, I wanted to know your sentiments about the issue of the regional governments conducting the elections. Do you feel that perhaps it should be allowed? Because the tenure of the incumbent leaders is over. According to I think according to the regional understanding, the tenure of those leaders is over. The incumbent leaders, the tenure of the incumbent leaders is over, and therefore, for me, I think perhaps they should have maybe allowed for regional elections to take place. That is my thinking, because they have postponed a couple of important things. For one, they were supposed to have the census in Ethiopia last year. And of course, they said because of the fighting in some of the regions in Ethiopia, they will not conduct the census. And therefore, it was postponed to this year. And when it was postponed to this year, they also postponed it now for another time, even this year. So they have not had the census itself, which of course I also believe is a practice, or it's an important thing to be able to have the actual numbers in different areas, so that they can be able to know how to represent, or how to even allocate some of the funds or allocate some of the money in these areas according to the numbers in these areas. And I believe some of the areas have been underrepresented by the government, because they also do not understand how many people are in these areas. So I believe the exercise of the census would have not been postponed as well. They should have actually continued with the exercise to be able to understand and better plan for the nation. But nonetheless, this is just my sentiment. This is just my opinion on what should have happened in Ethiopia. And I also believe people are normally so eager when it comes to electioneering period in the African context. I don't believe this not only in Africa, but I believe even in other areas when it comes to the electioneering period. And of course, once the tenure of some leaders has ended, new leaders are very, very much eager for the date of the old leaders or the tenure of the old leaders to end. And therefore, right now, that is why we're having the clash between the central government in Ethiopia and the regional governments. One of the things that actually happened last year, was the awarding of the Prime Minister of Ethiopia with the Nobel Peace Prize, which is actually ironical, if you ask me. The Prime Minister of Ethiopia goes by the name Mr. Abiy Ahmed, and of course, he was awarded last year with the Nobel Peace Prize. And now, of course, this is a country that is still experiencing, challenges in terms of, maintaining peace or acquiring peace, because of all these regions that are feel others marginalized, others underrepresented, others oppressed by the same government. And now, of course, even when you did have the leadership of Haile Selassie, different communities felt the same kind of We had a bit of a hit with the connectivity right there. Sorry about that, family. We had a bit of a hit with the connectivity right there. Although we are now coming to the end of the show, I just want to thank everyone that has been with us. Bombi, Dampa, Asante Sana, Mr. Pirate Brain, thank you so much, and everyone else that has joined us in on this particular episode of the 54 Corresponding Show. We do love and appreciate your feedback. Remember, if you would love to reach us, you can simply shoot me an email at spikes@blackhotfirenetwork.com. Of course, if you would love also to support the network, simply feel free to do so by heading over to the network website, and you can donate $5, $10, or whatever amount that you feel comfortable with. You are able to do that right there on the blackhotfirenetwork.com. You have to click on the donation tab. It's actually a simple process. If you would love to support the network, we do love and appreciate your support. And of course, we believe that we would be able to do much more right here on the Black Hot Fire with a little bit more of your support. And of course, for being part of the family, we also thank you. And of course, we never take your company for granted right here on the Black Hot Fire Network. Once again, much peace and love. I want to wish you a happy and productive day ahead. And of course, whatever endeavors that you chose to pursue, remember to, of course, approach the day with optimism. It's very, very much important that you approach the day with optimism, and of course, keep a positive mind frame because right now there's a lot of uncertainty, but I believe we can still get somewhere. Even with our optimism and a positive mind frame, that is what you should actually arm ourselves with. This has been the 54 Corresponding Show on the Black Watch Fire Network. Until next time, I want to say, kwaheri.
Lakini baby usijali, kesi tutajibu baadaye. You see, I love you so perfect, I can't deny it. But your father wants me in a casket. I think he's not playing. I didn't do a mistake in life when he goes to sleep. We can drive or we take the risk. The blue go at my police. And I would never leave you alone. Best believe my babe. Siwezi kukuacha peke yako. Wazazi wameshikana.